It's bread week, Paul's favourite.
Do you want to see something amazing?
Yes, please.
Okay, to start off making our crumpets, we need to make a sourdough starter. And shockingly, even though I lived through lockdown, I never actually made a sourdough starter. So I've looked up a recipe and it seems pretty simple. All you really need is some flour. They said preferably bread flour, which strong white flour is. They also said that it could help to be organic if you can get that, but this is what I had in the cupboard, so that's what I'm using. And some warm water that I've just got in this tiny little beaker here, and we've got 50 mils of that, which we're going to be mixing with 50 grams of the strong white flour. And I've also just found sort of the biggest jar that I have in my cupboard, which was an old Nutella jar. So basically all I need to do is weigh out 50 grams of flour, add 50 ml of water and whisk it together. So it did specify warm water. I'm not sure if that's sort of help the bacteria growth that you want, or if it's just easier to mix it in. So I'm just going to whisk this together now. And basically I need to do this every day for the next 4 or 5 days. I'm hoping this jar will be big enough, but I can always split it into a couple of jars if not. And once it's all mixed together, I just need to cover the top of the jar, but it says to semi-cover it. So what I'm going to do is get a small bit of cling film and pop that over, and then it has kind of got this gap in the middle, just from the way that I've opened it. I'm going to leave a bit of a gap in there. You could also just cover it with cling film and then poke a few holes in it, but hopefully that will leave enough of an air gap in there that some natural yeast can get into our sourdough and yeah, start expanding. I think the yeast might also be in the flour, but we need to let some of the air get to it. And apparently this natural yeast is what makes sourdough sour, rather than using sort of the normal yeast that you get in packets. So the next instruction for the sourdough starter is to basically throw half of it out and then start feeding it up again, just to keep it active. But I found that you can actually do something with the discarded starter. So we're going to make crumpets, and to do this I just need to figure out what half of this is once I dump it out. So I will switch to a scale in the bowl, and I'm just going to dump half of it in there, or about half. It's kind of hard to tell because the starter clouds up the jar, but I think that's probably about half. And then using a recipe that I found online, I'll just adjust it for this weight of starter. So I think I need to add a little bit of water. I'm not sure if my starter should be a little bit more bubbly, but I'm assuming because it's cold it hasn't bubbled up quite as much. But if this is going to get thrown away anyway, we might as well see what we can make with it. And just a little bit of sugar. And a teeny bit of bicarb and baking powder. So, or half a teaspoon, so I'm just gonna put in a teeny amount of each of these. I think this helps with the bubbles in the crumpet. And then we basically stir all this together and go and fry it. So the recipe said you can just use the starter, but mine looked a bit too watery, so I have added a teeny bit of flour, and there are loads of bubbles forming from the bicarb and the baking soda. So now all I need to do is get my pan ready with some egg rings. Annoyingly, I lost the footage of preheating and then pouring into the rings, but that's okay. These crumpets don't exactly turn out perfectly, and I'll try again and show you my second attempt at the end of the video. So I've taken them out because they were starting to catch a little bit, but I've got a feeling just because they were so thick, the middle isn't cooked. They definitely look more like English muffins than crumpets, but I like those as well. So I'm going to attempt to cut these in half widthways and then probably put them back in the pan for a little bit to make sure that the middle isn't entirely raw, which is what it feels like at the moment. Yeah, it still looks quite doughy. It's sort of semi-cooked, but I think I'm going to pop these back in the pan. These sides, you can see that the middle of this one does look kind of crumpety with the holes. I'll try and put a picture of a crumpet here to compare. So I think it was just my bad for making them too thick. They were probably twice as thick as they were meant to be. But this is definitely something I'm going to try next time, that I have to discard half of my sourdough starter. And it sort of shows me that maybe it would work if I put a little bit more bicarb in or something, and less dough in each ramekin, because there are essence of crumpets here and there. I still think this will taste good, because it will either taste like a English muffin or like a crumpet. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these back in the frying pan for a little bit just to cook through. So here's my results. There's definitely crumpet features, so I think these will work better next time if I put in less dough into each ring and maybe increase the bicarb baking soda a little bit. Maybe mine's been in the cupboard a bit too long. But now, traditionally we chop these with at least butter and usually jam. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of butter on each of these. And I think it's a common belief in the UK that you can never really have too much butter on a crumpet. You want it to fill all of the little holes that you usually have on a crumpet. So I'm going to top them all with butter, and then a couple of them I'm also going to add my homemade jam, which if you haven't seen how I've made it, I foraged the berries myself, and I'll put the video here so that you could have a go at it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this homemade jam, which is very liquidy because it's been warmed up with all the heat in the kitchen. And this is the traditional way that we have crumpets. Some people like to put peanut butter on them. I've even had them with Marmite on sometimes, so let me know your favourite crumpet combinations. And also let me know what you think I should call these. As I said, they're sort of a cross between a muffin and a crumpet, so they could be a croffin or a muppet. But yeah, hopefully next time this goes a little bit better, but I'll give these a taste and I'm sure that they're going to be better than anything I bought at the store, especially because they've been fried in butter. And again, I was just going to throw away the rest of that sourdough, so it's good to make something with it. Far the other way this time and not put enough in for these, because the recipe actually says on this one to cut it in half and then you have 2 crumpets. So I think these, my third attempt, hopefully will go well, but I'm gonna cut one of these in half anyway and just see if the inside looks crumpet like. I would say essence of crumpet in these. These are looking more bubbly, so I have higher hopes, but these are definitely better than my first attempt. Might just be that I need to cook them lower for longer because they're still a little bit doughy in the middle. But I'll do the same with this one and end up with sort of 4 crumpet thins and then 4 hopefully regular looking crumpets. I'm going to try and leave these a little bit longer than I did the previous ones to try and cook through the middle. I've turned the heat up and down depending on kind of what I feel like. But these are looking more promising, and then I'm going to cut them in half, toast them again because you tend to toast crumpets anyway, and hopefully end up with a successful crumpet on technically my third attempt. And these little crumpet thins will be my snacking crumpets. It's completely solid now. I can confirm that raw sourdough is really sour. A few times I dipped my finger and it wasn't quite done. But I'm gonna go ahead and flip these now and hopefully we end up with actual crumpets this time. The bottoms are a little bit more done than I would have liked, and they're not quite as thick as I would have liked. So what I might do here is just basically chop off the bottom of them, which is now the top. And that should leave me with some crumpets, but we'll see what the middle looks like once I've let this cook through just a little bit more. let's get these on the plate and I'll slice the tops off. And it's still just dough, so I'm gonna fry that off a bit more and hopefully end up with something. I'm doing wrong that they keep turning out pretty much completely raw in the middle. Please let me know. I tried cooking them low and slow and sort of increasing the heat and trying that. I have been trying to follow the recipes closely this time, but let me know in the comments below what have I done wrong and how I can fix it for next time when I give it a go. I still think that these attempts, the third attempt is probably most crumpet-like, but we'll give them a taste and see what they turn out like. Okay, so I've cooked these for as long as I have patience, and I'm just gonna top these now. And I think maybe just because they were raw in the middle when I cut them, I've knocked out quite a lot of the bubbles, but some of them do have the crumpet texture that I'm looking for. So I'm gonna top all of these with butter. I'm gonna top some of these with jam and some of these with peanut butter, and I might just go ahead and make a fusion food. So let's have a PB&J crumpet, American English, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, I can see why PB&J is popular. Yep. Well, I'll give these another go another time, but as I said, any help in the comments that you can give me, feel free to leave one down there, and I hope to see you again soon.